Remind you that it's great to be at FIU. All righty, everybody. Welcome to the Paws Up Halftime Report. I am Jake Gibson, and well, it's been a very interesting one so far here at Pitbull Stadium on Vice Night. It's the Kennesaw State Owls who are ahead by a score of 24-14 as we get ready for hopefully what could be an offensive explosion for the Panthers here in the second half of action. Now, going to keep it real here with you all. I feel like the first half was kind of a blur at points, maybe because of everything that was going on in leading up to the game. Of course, we've been busy here at the Paws Up podcast. We've gotten a bunch of interviews with Bordeaux and Chief Ed. A whole bunch of other amazing content broke out. So to say it's been pretty busy is a massive understatement for what has gone on for us in this version of Vice Night. So all things considered, it was a pretty fun first half, even if the score is not going our way. So let's talk about the good and bad here of what actually went on in that first half of football. Starting off with what FIU did right. I think rushing-wise, this was going to be a test from the start with Kennesaw State having one of the best rush defenses in Conference USA. The running attack for the Panthers has actually looked pretty good so far. 123 total yards. Keyshawn Owens and Anthony Carey both putting up very solid numbers thus far. Now, as we get going here, want to make sure we're good just about everywhere here. So let's keep it rolling here. Keyshawn Owens having another very solid game, 93 yards and a score. Anthony Carey had a couple of big runs here and there, 22 yards and another score. Both of FIU's touchdowns have been on the ground, and that's partially because FIU's passing game has been good. You've had guys like McGuire Anderson, who's already become your number one guy so far through the air, which has been nice to see. But it feels like the passing game has left a lot to be desired. Jenkins has actually made a lot of good throws, but there have been some bad drops, I would say, by quite a few of the guys on offense. And I think the biggest sin so far today for the FIU Panthers has got to be, and south to west, as literally as I was about to say, the penalties have been brutal for FIU so far. One of the biggest reasons why they got out to the lead they did against Western Kentucky was the fact that they avoided the silly penalties, with the exception of a few holding calls to end the first half and a couple in the second. But the point is, they kind of stayed clean off of that in that game against Western Kentucky. Today, not so much. They've had quite a few, 6 so far on both offense and defense, 50 yards total. Negative yards in that regard. That's the biggest sin so far of the night or should I say that's the biggest vice of the night so far for FIU in a bad way. It is the penalties. So on defense, it hasn't really been that good. There's been a lot of big plays given up by this FIU secondary. Quite a few guys have unfortunately been burnt on the big plays here and there. Odom, we were wondering who would be the starter. They went with Amari Odom, and he's looked pretty good so far, although he hasn't really had to do so much. Only 13 pass attempts, 9 of them completed, 201 yards, and a touchdown. I feel like Kennesaw State's running game has also been pretty effective, all things considered. 96 yards there. One of their touchdowns came from that. Passing-wise, they've been fine. I think this FIU defense was very slow to start. The whole team was pretty slow to start. It took a couple of drives for FIU's offense to sort of get it together and actually put on points. And defensively, they also had to spend quite a few drives to adjust. And I think they did that pretty well. They actually forced a turnover there on the second to last drive of the game for the Owls. What sucks about that, though, you force the turnover on downs. You're given excellent field position, but FIU cannot capitalize and has to punt it away. That actually really sucks because even if FIU scored a field goal on that final drive in Kennesaw State territory, you would have felt really good. It could be 24-17, and you'd be feeling really great. I believe FIU gets the ball to start the second half, too, so you could have been looking to either tie or take the lead if you were actually to score points in that drive coming off the turnover on downs. They didn't, and so the score is 24-14 still. So, Yeah, definitely could be better. It could be worse. We've already seen games against Delaware and UConn where FIU get into a hole early and are just unable to get back into it. That hasn't really been the case today. They've kind of stayed with Kennesaw State towards the latter end of the first half, and that's why it's only a 10-point deficit as opposed to what could be 17, even 24. So there's a lot this team needs to do to sort of get it together. Obviously, Kennesaw State is no day at the beach, but neither was Western Kentucky, and we looked really good on both sides of the ball there. Didn't commit many penalties in the process either, all things considered. So pretty much leave it there. It's been, like I said, a pretty exhausting first half, man, between talking to Bordeaux, talking to GFed, the shirtless gang over at that one corner of Pitbull Stadium. They've been kind of fun to watch. A lot has gone on off the field, but we definitely need to see some improvements for FIU on the field as well. And this game is not over. FIU is no slouch to scoring points really quickly. They did so in the third quarter against Florida Atlantic. That's how they were able to pull away from the Owls. It'll take that sort of effort in the third quarter to not just tie, but take the lead in either a 1 or 2 possession game. So we'll have to wait and see what they do with it, how they're going to come out swinging here, and see where they go from here. So we'll leave it here. Kind of a short pause up halftime report, but we are sort of running out of time here. Your score: Kennesaw State 24-14. I believe FIU gets the ball to start off the second half. And we will catch you post-game following media availability at the Fieldhouse and with what could hopefully be an amazing Vice night here at Pitbull Stadium. Of course, we're looking for our first W in the Vice uniforms in football still, and hopefully they can pull some magic and make it happen tonight. So we'll leave you there. Have a great rest of the night. Go watch some football. Paws up.